with the EPA and other federal government agencies?
It's not because of the executive order. We work closely with the EPA, the State Water District, Bay Area Air Quality Management District, the Army Corps of Engineers, Fish and Wildlife. In order to, we have many pieces of our property that are next to or adjacent to responsibilities of these other agencies. For example, the Army Corps of Engineers is responsible for the levee system. We have the north part of our property that we work with Fish and Wildlife. We have protected species on the campus. So we have a wildlife management program.
Okay.
So we interact with a lot of the regulating agencies, hopefully mostly in a cooperative way. But the Water District for obvious reasons, the Environmental Protection Agency for site cleanup of contaminated areas.
Well, that's good. Now, I'm concerned, interested in what your organization, NASA Ames Research Center, is going to do the beginning of 2011 in February. I know you're having some kind of event, and it's first of all, I think there's at least 2 or 3 events occurring, and one, you help me, one is just for your own organization. And let's just talk about that one, and that's what, February the 3rd or 2nd?
February 1st, 2nd, and 3rd is a workshop designed primarily for Ames to figure out what we should be considering in terms of climate adaptation.
For your own facility?
For our own facility.
Okay.
So we have planned 3 breakout sessions in that workshop, starting with a presentation from GIST on our data, so the scientific data.
Who is GIST?
GIST is part of the Goddard Space Flight Center in Maryland. They're located in New York, and they have the climate data that we would be using. So their folks are helping us in presenting the data to our folks. And then we will be breaking out in 3 sessions to talk about the built environment, which would be the buildings, the infrastructure, and horizontal infrastructure, which is water and electrical. We'll be talking about the cultural resources, meaning the management of the wetlands, wildlife protection, and the sort, and protection of other areas. And then, of course, we'll be talking about our workforce, which is the most important to me, in terms of safety, occupational health, its climate adaptation impacts or implications, and emergency response.
Okay. What are you going to do for the state of California? And we can just start with, what are you going to do for what you folks define as the South Bay of San Francisco, which Bay Area, which I believe would include San Francisco, even Napa possibly, I don't know. And
so after the workshop, so the workshop is scheduled for the 1st, 2nd, and 3rd, and then on the 4th, we're having an open symposium on climate adaptation, where once again we will be presented with the climate modeling for the region, and we've invited all of our potential partners. So we have invited our federal partners, industry partners, local governments, community leaders. I believe we have invited people all the way from San Francisco, all the way around the Bay, to participate in hopes that this is the start of the conversation of how we make a plan for this region together. So I'm very excited because it's all about collaboration and partnerships for us. And I just think that concentrating on our stuff, we will have to concentrate on what we're going to do at Ames Research Center, but reaching out to our communities. We are part of the community. All of our employees, we live in the community. So we're interested in ensuring that we have a plan that's coordinated with the state and other stakeholders, so that we are not, that our plans are coordinated and it addresses the concerns of the region.
that's wonderful. I'd like to paraphrase, because I think you said an awful lot of important things, and again, I'd like you to correct me. So on the 4th, one of the things you're going to do you're pulling together your own resources, the NASA folks, and other federal agencies, state agencies, people from the regional, the counties, and the cities to come to an event, and you folks are going to share what you would like to contribute to helping the South Bay and California with respect to moving forward and preparing for climate change. Would that be
Yes,
sort of like a big powwow? It's
a
a
big
good
powwow.
level setting, developing more relationships with different agencies and different stakeholders, whatever.
We're very interested in developing a plan together, at least for this region. I believe the data that's going to be presented is going to be specific to the San Francisco Bay region, maybe within 50 miles. I'm not sure how big, but it will be concentrating on this area. And so the first sharing that we would like to do is of that information to start the dialogue about how we coordinate and plan together.
Well, that's very interesting. And I want to say, just before I came to the TV studio, I attended a party, and there was a city manager of one of the more important leading cities in the Bay Area. And I asked that city manager, do you have the emissions levels of your city for 1990, which is the starting point that is being used for the state requiring that city and every other city in the state to bring their 2020 emissions down to that level? And I asked him, do you have that data? And he said, no. And I said to myself, well, how in the world can you plan your sustainability strategies, for 2020 if you don't have the data for what level you must meet that data? And he promised that he would invite me next week to come to his office, and he would by then tell me how he figured out, if he can, where he'll get that data. Would it be safe for me to assume, first of all, I assume the state of California has a means to get that data, I would think. I don't know for sure. But your folks, with your modeling, your high-performance workstations, your software, etc., you may be making it available, that data, for these cities to help them in a planning situation.
I think we could give similar data for example, potential sea level rise, changes in polar ice caps, changes in temperature, maybe other land factors that I'm not familiar with that could imply perhaps air emissions. I don't know specifically about air emission data, but I would say that you could take, say, some measurable loss of coastline and make some presumptions on that. So I can't say exactly what kind of data is going to be presented, but I know that the information that will be presented we should be able to use it readily to be able to form an adaptation plan. And I think the planning, obviously, different communities have started some similar planning. The federal mandate is wider than just air emissions or greenhouse gases. So I look at this as an opportunity to be not only collaborative and an opportunity to partner, but an opportunity to be a little more proactive on a wider scale. And it's going to be a challenge, but we look forward to it.
Okay. Now, if folks who run governments around here and are important stakeholders in this community, California, if they wanted to gain more information as to your upcoming event, do they go to the NASA website, or is there anything special they should look for? Or?
Yes, there's a NASA website the Ames website. The climate adaptation workshop is announced. Invitations have gone out for the symposia, but if they are interested in coming to the symposia, they can email me, actually, and I will get them onto the invitation list.
Okay. Now, is this the first time one of NASA's facilities has stepped forward to try to work with many, many different organizations in a particular community with respect to helping the community and the other agencies work effectively with you folks and vice versa. Is this the first time you're doing this with respect to climate change?
Well, let me answer that in a couple of different ways. Each NASA center, I think, does a really good job of outreach to the community. They're community partners in every state. This will be the first time that we have a symposia attached to the workshops from an agency perspective. I have to give the agency a lot of credit for stepping out kind of ahead of the game and starting their climate adaptation workshops at Kennedy Space Center in Florida. We are the second, I think, workshop to happen at a NASA center. But specifically to answer your question about the open symposia, this is the first time I believe there will be the open symposium.
Okay, so NASA has made, with respect to climate change and local community activity at the Kennedy Space Center.
Mm-hmm.
I guess that's Florida, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
Okay. And now Ames, which has a lot of talent at it, and has been working on climate change issues for, I think, a long time. This will be the second one, and you're now expanding the scope of what you're doing. Is that right?
Yes.
And very quickly, and I know the job you have is amazing. I don't know how you can keep track of anything else. You expect other NASA groups to do the same kind of thing?
I don't have an expectation of other NASA groups, but, you know, I think it's a good thing to do.
All right. I want to thank you. Hi. My guest is Deborah Feng. She is the Director of Operations of NASA's Ames Research Center in Moffett, California, right near Palo Alto, California, where we are taping this show. And I am Michael Killen, and I hope this show, I hope what NASA's doing is very helpful to everyone in California and everywhere else in planning for climate change.